Good evening and welcome to Carbondale. I'm Russ Eisenstein. What a magical year it was for Southern Illinois University. Bruce Weber's Salukis captured 28 wins, had a share of the Missouri Valley Conference regular season title, advanced to the NCAA tournament with an at-large berth, won 2 games in the dance, and advanced to the Sweet 16. Basketball tradition is rich here. In 1967, Walt Frazier guided the Dogs to New York and the National Invitation Tournament title. 10 years later, in 1977, Mike Glenn's hot shooting guided the Dogs to their first NCAA tournament and first win in the Big Dance. In the mid-90s, Rich Herron coached a dynasty, and stars like Ashraf Amaya, Chris Carr, and Marcus Timmons. Those teams captured 3 straight Missouri Valley Conference tournament titles and 3 straight berths in the NCAA tournament. All the stars were aligned in 2001-2002. There was enough magic in this building and enough ability in this team to take SIU basketball to new heights. Now, let's revisit a sweet Saluki season. The impetus for the magic really began at the end of the 2000-2001 season. Southern Illinois University lost 67-64 in the first round of the Missouri Valley Conference tournament to Indiana State. The Salukis concluded a 16-14 season. Being 2 games over 500 was not something that Bruce Weber envisioned in his 3rd year at the helm. So the bar was set immediately after that game in St. Louis. Anything less than an MVC championship and a spot in the NCAA tournament would be a disappointment. With that in mind, the goal-driven Saluki stayed in Carbondale over the summer and worked harder and longer than they ever had before. They battled the midsummer heat in 6:30 a.m. lifting sessions to grow stronger physically and increase their strength of their bond as a team.
We put those goals on us early, and all through the summer, we had everybody here, and I think it brought us closer together, and we got up in the morning, and we did some things with the football team, and it was just, we did a lot more in the summer to bring us closer together, so when the fall came around, we weren't behind. We were ready to get going, and then by the time practice started, it was time.
The Salukis were picked 4th in the preseason poll behind the favorites, the Illinois State University Redbirds, Creighton University Blue Jays, and the Indiana State University Sycamores.
I would have thought we would have been at least, at worst second, 1st and 2nd, but when I said we got 4th, man, I was just like, man, we just got to go out and prove ourselves. I knew that we were better than 4th, but what Tyrese Bryson and Illinois State did last year, they picked that, based on how you do the previous year. So previous year we didn't do too well, so I guess that's how I sit. You can find out, who was the true champions or the number 1 team until the season went on, so we just had to prove ourselves.
For the Dogs to overcome the pundits' predictions, they would have to have success with their difficult non-conference slate. Southern opened the year Friday, November the 16th at the arena against the Bruins of Belmont. 4 players were in double figures, led by Jermaine Dearman's 18, and the Dogs cruised to an 82-71 victory. On the following Monday, it was off to St. Louis to take on Lorenzo Romar's Billikens in the opening round of the Las Vegas Invitational. Southern's defense and rebounding prowess held the Bills at bay. SIU had a 44-26 advantage on the boards and forced prolonged SLU scoring droughts. Kent Williams had 22, and the Salukis won at Savas 69-64. The X-factor for the season was Roland Roberts. In a guard-oriented league, the Virginia Tech transfer figured to use his muscle to dominate in and out of the Valley. Despite being an imposing figure in the early going, Roberts struggled on the offensive end in the first 2 games.
When you sit out a whole year, when you don't play the level of a Division I game, it tends to affect you. You're used to playing, and then all of a sudden you don't play for a year. It's like you're out of rhythm. And I thought I was prepared, but obviously I wasn't the way I played the first 2 games.
All Roberts needed to get going was a trip out west. As the Vegas Invitational continued, Roland caught fire. The Woodbridge, Virginia native poured in 24 points, and SIU defeated Iowa State 66-57.
For some reason, I get fired up when we play bigger schools. I don't know why. It's just something about me, man. I guess I psych myself out more than anything when I see that name across that jersey. And, we got our uniforms, and there's a Nike or something like that. I just get kind of fired up.
The Salukis would manhandle Hartford in the tournament's 3rd game, 78-46, setting up a dream meeting with the University of Illinois.
I was excited, and I knew a lot of those guys. I played with them, played against them, and, I've grown up watching some of them. So, it was a lot of fun to go up against U of I and, the big school of Illinois and, the Big Ten team, and everybody looks up to. And it didn't really matter. It was in the high school gym. It was packed in there, and there was fans just going nuts in there, and it was wild. It was almost like a high school tournament, which is even better sometimes. So, there was a lot of excitement, and the atmosphere was great, even though it was a small high school gym.
At the time, the Illini were ranked 2nd in the nation, and the battle in Vegas was only the 2nd time ever that the Salukis met the Illini on the hardwood. The Maroon and White battled through a physical first half to trail at the break 43-37. The Salukis chipped away and took the lead midway through the second half. At that point, the unthinkable seemed possible. Southern held on to the advantage until the 2:32 mark when Illinois' Sean Harrington's three-pointer tied the game at 68. The Illini would take the lead and hold on for a heartbreaking 75-72 win.
We did a hell of a job that game. Things just didn't go our way, and we just kind of let it slip through our fingers. We had to leave with like 2 minutes left and kind of let it slip. So.
In that ball game, Southern proved to themselves and the nation that it could go toe-to-toe with the big boy in the state and one of the nation's premier programs. SIU played Illinois Chicago at the arena during the week, but all the hoopla surrounded Southern's second crack at the Big Ten. The Dogs doused the Flames 76-68. The long wait was finally over. SIU hosted Indiana at the arena.
It was amazing, and they had the place rocking that night. And we're out here shooting around, 40, 50 minutes before the game like we always do, and there's people here. And it's like, what are these guys doing here already? I guess just trying to get seats. But it was packed before we even came out to run out with the fireworks and everything. But yeah, they had the fireworks display and turn the lights off for the starting lamps, and it was incredible. And it really got the fans pumped up and got us pumped up for the game. And I think us beating Indiana and the kind of excitement we had here that night kind of got everybody else excited about the season. We had the fans really going, and they stayed with us the rest of the year and supported us.
The magnitude of the moment was enormous. Mid-level schools always take on the big boys on the road, but rarely get a chance to host them. Because of that, the fever surrounding the game reached unparalleled heights. This was the opportunity that fans, players, coaches, and everyone associated with the mid-level program dreams of.
It was a big game for me, though. I was kind of mad, when you come from that town and you don't get recruited from anybody in the whole state. Basically, besides Ball State, was the only team that recruited me, so it was fun to kind of get a little payback from them.
Friends, the air was electric, and when the smoke finally cleared, the Salukis were on top. The 24th-ranked Hoosiers led 4-0, but Southern took an 8-6 lead on this Roland Roberts jumper. The lead would gradually increase on this Marcus Belcher 3 and this Sylvester Willis stick-back dunk. When Southern took their first double-digit advantage, the arena nearly lost its top. Indiana narrowed the margin to 6, 26-20 at halftime. But it was Southern's day, and there was no way in the world the Hoosiers would come out of Carbondale with a win.
12-point lead. Moy stripped by Roberts to Ward. He hands it to Williams. Williams can dribble it out. 7 seconds left. It's in the book, baby. 72-60. Indiana falls at the arena. 72-60, the final score. They mobbed the floor at the arena.
It really, I think, boosted our confidence about things, and it was just a huge win to help us springboard into some more games.
We had to beat somebody big. We had to get a W against a Big Ten school, I think, for us to get it at large, if we didn't win the tournament. So I felt like that was a really big game, at that point in the season.
December the 1st was a defining day for the university and for the ball club. The momentum really started to roll, and the wins came with it. The Salukis jet-setted from coast to coast and picked up wins at George Mason and Cal State Northridge. A slip at Colorado State brought an end to a 4-game winning streak, but SIU was poised for a 5-game tear. The Dogs steamrolled SEMO at the arena 92-80. Against the Indians, Roberts was large. Roland poured in 28 points and pulled down 18 rebounds. Murray State, Evansville, Illinois State, and Southwest Missouri felt the wrath of the Maroon and White whirlwind. On January 10th, SIU blew into Wichita. The Salukis led the Shockers 42-40 at halftime, but Wichita State went on a 21-10 run out of the break and delivered a shocking 88-79 Saluki setback.
We realized that we were piling up a lot of wins, and we could take this somewhere special and really get going with it. And but I think another good thing about it was we said we lost every 4 or 5 games, it seemed like all year. So every time it seemed like we started getting too confident or said, man, we're going to start rolling through things, we had something to knock us down, bring us back down to earth, and then we tried to build up another win streak. And then it kept happening all year. And you wish you go through the season where it doesn't happen, but maybe it's the best for us that we got knocked back down to earth, and we had to start from scratch again going into another win streak.
A refocused group of Salukis returned to Carbondale poised to start another streak. The Dogs turned a first-place battle with Northern Iowa into a first-rate blowout. Darren Brooks fueled the fire with 19 points, and the Salukis skinned the Cats 83-58. SIU was 14-3 and was 17-3 at the end of their second 4-game run.
We just really started to gel about those spots. Everybody kind of figured out their roles, and everybody was ready to play. We had a goal that we had set, at the beginning of the season, and we were determined at the time.
A Panther payback ended the string. UNI beat SIU 69-64 in Cedar Falls on January the 26th. But Southern had only 4 losses at the halfway point of the year. Following a 101-62 royal flush of the Evansville Purple Aces at the arena, it was off to Omaha for a Super Bowl Sunday showdown with the Creighton Blue Jays. The Blue Jays led by 14 at halftime, but the high-flying antics of Roland Roberts helped key the comeback. Roland had a game-high 18, but the drama came in the game's waning moments.
4.5 left. It's Brooks into the front court with 3. On the left wing, hits Kent. Turnaround shot. They fouled him. Are you kidding me? Bowden fouled him at 25 feet. It was a touch foul with 0.3 seconds left. You've got to be kidding me.
I knew I was going to make the first one too, just to get it over with. And I didn't even have doubt in my head. Thinking back on it, I was saying, man, if I would have missed that first one, there'd been more pressure, especially if I missed the second one. But I knew going to the line I was going to hit those. I knew the guy made a mistake by fouling me, and if he would have fouled anybody, that was a big mistake. But I knew I was going to go up to the line and knock him in, and it sealed the victory for us.
The Salukis escaped the Civic Odd with a 79-77 win and a paw up in the race to St. Louis. With the 78-58 win over Wichita State on February the 6th, the 2001-2002 team became the fastest squad in school history to get to 20 wins. After a victory over Drake, SIU was set to begin a brutal 2-game road swing. SMS beat the Dogs in Springfield. Then Illinois State delivered an early knockout punch and beat SIU 84-70.
That was our low point, I think, me personally, when we lost those back-to-back games, because that was the first time we'd done it all season. And I was kind of curious to see how we were going to bounce back, We was in this position, a similar position like this last year, where, we were doing good, and then we ended up losing like 2 or 3 games in a row at the end of the season, man. And that hurts you as a team, man. It hurts your chances of making to the NCAA tournament. I just didn't want to see that happen.
Despite the setbacks, SIU was still in contention for the regular season conference crown. On February 20th, against Creighton, 37 minutes went by, and Southern trailed by 5. But as always, Kent was there.
To Hairston, center jump circle, 19 seconds left. Into the corner, it's Kent, a 3 for the lead. Yeah! Southern leads 63-62. He has 9. 16 seconds left.
With 22 seconds remaining, the Mount Vernon sharpshooter buried another bomb, and SIU led 63-62.
I knew at that time I felt like we needed a big shot, and I think we kind of felt we didn't want to go into overtime with them. We wanted to end it right there, and I had a good look at a 3, so I took it and knocked it in. And early in the game, I got knocked out of the game with I had to get stitches and things, and it kind of took me a while to get back in the sync of the game. And when you sit out, you're just kind of not in here for a while, and you come back, everything feels weird. So it did take a while for me to adjust and get back in the rhythm of the game.
Creighton had one last chance, but this time, Jermaine Dearman shut the door.
On the inbound, Taylor in the backcourt to McKinney. Belcher there at the center jump circle. 7 seconds left. Spin move, free throw line, into the lane, to the goal. Block! Dearman blocked it. Comes away to Brooks. 2 seconds left. They foul him. And Darren Kneisen. Jermaine Dearman has never blocked a bigger shot in his life.
I think that's been the biggest block, of my career so far, man. It was the funnest, too. Being at the end of the game situation like that, and, I seen, Mark say got beat, man, he got a little step on him. I just didn't want to see us go down like that, especially not at home. So it was fun, man. I had to go up there and had to go get that ball, so it was fun.
SIU won it 65-63 and took the season series against the Jays. Heading into the final night of the regular season, the Dogs needed a miracle. Not only did they have to beat Bradley, but Drake had to go to Omaha and beat the Blue Jays. Mathematically, the possibility was there for SIU to capture a share of the MVC regular season championship. But to a man, the Salukis' hopes weren't high.
We come into the game thinking, we need a win just to head into the Valley tournament, and also, for RPI reasons and things like that, NCAA tournament. But we came in, and then all of a sudden during the game, there was a lot of emotion that went on. We get down pretty big right away. It was like 9-2 or something, and then we make a run, and then we get the game in our hands.
The Dogs were rolling against a depleted group of Braves when word out of Nebraska reached the arena.
75, 73. The Dogs are #1 if they win this game. On the inbound, it's Kent into Hairston at 19. He guns it. It's in. Stetson Hairston has 11. Blake did it somehow, and the Dogs will be the #1 seed in the tournament if they hold on to this 13
I was in the game when they kept calling the score out. I remember I was walking out of timeout. I was like, oh man, like Drake was up by like 6 with like a minute to go. I was like, oh man, we got to go ahead and win this. And I'm telling Jermaine, we got to go, man. Let's do it. It's our chance to, win the title. And it's not going to happen again for me. So I told him I was really hungry to do it. And it was just a great feeling on the bench, man, when it was over. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know how to celebrate, really.
Yeah. I felt like we let ourselves down, that we weren't going to win the championship. And then all of a sudden to get a chance again like that, to get a second chance was nice. And we knew once we heard that Creighton had lost, we weren't going to lose this game here.
There was enough magic in the Carbondale moonlight, and for the first time since 1990, the Salukis were Missouri Valley Conference champions. From there, it was off to St. Louis. It was a share of the crown, but the Salukis garnered the tiebreak advantage over the Jays and received the #1 seed at Arch Madness. The Gateway City seemed to bring out the best in the Dogs in the quarterfinals and in the semis. Southern went on a decisive 21-5 run and held the Braves to just 15 points at the half en route to a 66-44 victory over Bradley. On semifinal Sunday, it was more of the same. 4 players were in double figures, led by Marcus Belcher's 19, and the Dogs earned a spot on Championship Monday with an 86-63 trouncing of Southwest Missouri State. A ticket to the dance was in reach. Southern felt that their season-long work deserved an at-large berth. The Salukis did not want to put it to chance. A throng of maroon and white made the short trip to St. Louis all weekend, and even more were in attendance for the championship date with Creighton. The Salukis led 36-33 at the half, but the game was lost out of the break. The Jays went on an 11-2 run and shot at a 60% clip over the first 12 minutes of the second half. Despite efforts to chip away, Creighton was headed to their 4th consecutive NCAA tournament with an 84-76 MVC tournament championship win over SIU. The week of waiting began.
Coming in that Creighton game, they got the best of us, and that again, was a little awakening for us.
I had no idea what was going to happen, and I still didn't know until we saw our name on there is when I really knew that we're in it now, and that's when I really got excited.
Well, at first I didn't think about it, but I knew, man. I looked at all the wins and losses in the other conferences of teams that conferences that didn't need to take 2 teams. You know what I'm saying? Like if a favorite would have lost, like Kent State, if they would have lost, they would have had to take 2 out of the MAC. So, I was just hoping that we was in, man. I didn't know what to do, man. I was panicking, but I knew we were in. But it was something really hard to deal with because when you work all season for one thing, it would have been a letdown if we were in the NIT. I can't lie to you. It would have been a big letdown. So we got in. Very fortunate.
And they will face the Salukis of Southern Illinois University.
Following a week of Are They In, the Salukis bubble burst, and the Dogs landed in the NCAA tournament. For the first time since 1995, SIU was set to dance. As an 11 seed, in the East Regional in Chicago, Southern faced Bobby Knight and the 5th-seeded Texas Tech Red Raiders. For the Salukis to prove worthy of an at-large berth, the strong showing was a must. The Dogs' intensity was fitting of the enormity of the contest. Neither the bright lights of Chicago nor the size of the tournament stage bothered the Dogs. Stetson Harrison calmly nailed the first bucket of the ballgame, a 3, and Southern had an opening lead. 5 lead changes occurred over the game's first 10 minutes, but the freshman from Belleville struck again for lead change number 6 and a 12-11 Saluki lead. SIU gutted its way to a 32-29 halftime lead. In the second half, the maroon and white defense was suffocating. Tech was held without a field goal for 12 minutes, and the lead began to mount.
Over the defensive steal. Rowland has a half court. Into the front court, 2-on-1. Over to Marcus. Lob for Rowland. Push. Rowland has 12. Southern can feel it. A date on Sunday is in the offing. The Salukis by 15, 8 minutes left.
At the 6:40 mark, the lead was at its peak, 16. The Red Raiders showed the heart that their legendary head coach demands, but the night belonged to Southern.
Fouls into the front court, top of the circle. Southern up 76-68, 18-footer, no good. Rebounded by Ellis, 1 second left, turnaround shot blocked by Roberts. Ball game. Dogs are in the final 32.
Kent Williams and Jermaine Dearman had 19, and for the first time since the 1977 win over Arizona, SIU was victorious in the NCAA tournament. Southern 76, Texas Tech 68.
We had to show people that we belong there. We had to do some damage, so, once we got against that Texas Tech, man, Bobby Knight, all I was reading about and hearing on TV on, ESPN and college hoops tonight is Bobby Knight this, Bobby Knight that. you know, season on the brink. You know, I just felt like, you know, we were really, really the underdogs that game.
We were pretty confident coming in, even though we did come off a loss, but we usually bounce back pretty well after losses. And we let the Bobby night just be the story, you know, for them. We really didn't focus on it too much. We just wanted to go out and play the games.
The win was validation for all the work on and off the court. Proof positive that SIU basketball can lace them up with the big boys on the biggest stage in college basketball. Great teams aren't just happy to be there, they want to do some damage. Next up for the Salukis was a second-round meeting with Jim Herrick's Georgia Bulldogs. The height advantage of Texas Tech was nothing compared to the brawn that the SEC's Bulldogs boasted. Emotionally, the first-round win drained the Salukis, and the toll of a long season was evident early. For the first time all year, the spark was absent. As a result, UGA muscled their way to an early lead. First it was 5, then it was 10. At the 10-minute mark, the Bulldog advantage swelled to 13 and 22-9 on a Rashad Wright three-pointer. On a Jarvis Hayes three-pointer at the 8:31 mark, the onslaught peaked at 19, 30-11. As high as the Salukis were on Friday night was as low as they were at that moment. Decision time. Would Southern settle for one win and pack it in, or would the Dogs play the remainder of the ballgame with the same intensity they exhibited throughout the year? The Dogs chose the latter. Out of the 8-minute media timeout, the Salukis began to chip away. By halftime, Southern narrowed the gap to 3, 38-35. Weber's boys scratched and clawed their way back and tied the game at 41 and took their first lead on a Darren Brooks free throw. The improbable comeback ended with Southern taking a lead that they would not relinquish.
It's to the corner, Brooks. Baseline drive left. Out to Hairston it goes. Back to Brooks in the corner for a 3 in the lead. Yes! DB with 5 in a row. He has 8 in the ballgame. Southern is up.
After an improbable comeback, the Dogs were victorious. Jermaine Dearman had a monster game and ended with 25. Darren Brooks posted a quiet 16.
On the inbound look and throw it deep in the backcourt. Hairston has it. Dribbles it out. Sweet 16, baby. Southern's there. Southern's there. Southern's in the Sweet 16.
Southern 77, Georgia 75. For the first time in school history, SIU won 2 games in the NCAA tournament.
You know, we had goals this year, and we had reached every one of them, and that was our last goal, and to know that we accomplished it, and to know that everything that we tried to do this season, that it was worthwhile and we did accomplish it.
You know, once I made it to the tournament, man, it was like, personally, it was like a coming out party for me, man, because, I mean, you know, I felt like, you know, I was kind of on the back burner all year. I mean, as far as I felt like I worked hard, you know, I felt I did what I had to do on this team, you know, to help us win. And
the United Center erupted, but the celebration was nothing compared to what awaited back in Southern Illinois. So the maroon magic carpet stretched all the way to Syracuse, New York, and the Sweet 16. The Salukis faced the University of Connecticut. The Dogs were among elite company: UConn, Maryland, and Kentucky. Southern's story became material across the country, and Bruce Weber and his program received airtime on radio and on television all over the nation. The exposure was priceless, but the game was to be played. The Salukis and the Huskies. Roland Roberts' offensive power was something that few teams could handle. Even a premier Big East program couldn't contain him. Roberts scored 14 of the Salukis' first 18 points from the field. The problem for SIU was that he was the only offensive option. Despite the lack of multiple scores, the Maroon and White trailed 28-24 with 4 minutes remaining in the first half. From there, Jim Calhoun's Huskies took over. On an emphatic Karan Butler dunk, the lead was at 10. UConn led 40-28 at the break. Roberts had 16, but the Salukis did not hit a 3. In the second half, the problems persisted. The shooting touch was gone, and the Huskies continued to capitalize. The lead never got out of reach, but remained out of grasp. Connecticut 71, Southern Illinois 59. The ride had come to an end.
The greatest season, man. It's been amazing, man. It's just so much stuff that happened in 1 year, man. It's just, I'll remember for a long time.
SIU rose from a ball club pick to finish 4th in the Missouri Valley Conference to one of the final 16 teams standing. Included in their 28 wins were victories over Iowa State, Indiana, a regular season sweep of Creighton, and tournament upsets of Texas Tech and Georgia. The careers of Roberts, Belcher, Bowie, and Ward concluded with the final horn. Roland Roberts' 1-year playing stint in Carbondale goes down as one of the best single-season performances ever. Marcus Belcher proved to be a reliable floor general and showed monumental improvement from his junior to senior seasons and started every game in 2001-2002. Tyrese Bowie battled through injury to be a valuable option off the bench. Jason Ward exhibited the true essence of a team player in his 5 years. Despite limited playing time, his spirit never faltered. The maestro of the Magic has joined us in his 4th year in Carbondale. Bruce Weber has guided Southern Illinois University to 28 wins and a Sweet 16 appearance. Coach, when you look back on this season, this is something that you will remember for the rest of your life, right?
Well, it is a special season and a special group of players and a great fan base that got into it. I think we captured a lot of people's hearts this year, and I think not only will we remember it, but the people here in the Carbondale area, the Southern Illinois area, will remember it for a long time. So it is a special season.
You made a pretty firm goal following your elimination from the Missouri Valley Conference tournament the year prior. You said anything less than a conference title and a berth in the NCAA tournament would be a disappointment. When you went into this season, did you think, man, I might have overstated those goals, or were those right on?
Well, I think a couple people that questioned me felt maybe I was putting too much pressure on them. But I felt we had to have high goals, and there were 2 reasons I did it. One, and I've talked about this before with our senior class the year before with Josh Cross and Abel Schroeder, they kept saying we didn't want to go out losers. Well, we didn't go out losers. We ended up just what they had said, 16 and 14. They were a little better than average. So, and I thought if maybe that's how the minds work, and that's how if you say this is where I want to be, this is where you end up. And so I said we got to put high goals on them. And the other reason I used with the Sweet 16, and when I added that onto the goals, I asked the kids, I said, we had played Mississippi that year in Hawaii in a game we felt we should have won. It came down to the end, and we had the lead going into the last TV timeout. I said, do you think you were as good as Mississippi? And they said yes. And I said, well, they went to the 16. Why can't we? So I used that as a, kind of as a motivator, and we set some high goals, and I think that helped them buy into it. I think right from the start, there were no gripes. The spring workouts last year, into the summer, all summer, and we've talked about it. They lifted weights 6:30 in the morning. The whole group of them, I'm sure there were some mornings that they were pretty tired, but they went out there and did what they had to. We competed with football and the weight training. I think that was a little bit of a motivator. And then into the season, and then the hard, long practices early, and really very few gripes. I mean, then I think there might have been some gripes, but we started winning right away. And when you win, that's your reward for hard work, and I'm glad they bought in and things worked out that way.
Coach, you often talk about players being special, and you command them to say, let's be special, somebody step up. Was there a moment in the season, one particular point, where you thought, yes, this is a special group, they played special tonight? Well,
I think the St. Louis game, the first game on the road, we kind of had to prove ourselves. They're very tough to beat there. The last time we had played there, we really got blown out pretty soundly. They had Justin Love and those guys too, a couple seasons ago. And so we thought it was, our goal was to get to the championship of Vegas. So I think that was the first one. We held them to 20 at halftime. We kind of controlled the whole game. Roland really wasn't a major factor, but our other guys were. So here we did it without Roland. I think the halftime of the Illinois game, our kids came in and said, man, we can beat these guys. We can compete with them. And I think that moment kind of, right there is like, man, not only are we pretty good, but I think they're realizing they're pretty good. And then a week later, we beat Indiana here, and it was just, everything went perfect. The fireworks to the getting the lights back on, to the game, to the sellout, to everything, and, getting on ESPN and all the highlights and all that stuff. And I think that was, and then, and then we were consistent the whole way. The Creighton game, obviously at Creighton coming back. The Creighton game here, the last 2 minutes. Made a big impact. And the other point in the season, we lost 2 in a row, only one time, those 2 road games. And after we got back, instead of being negative, I went the other way, and I upped the goals. I went from 25 wins to 27 wins. I went to a Valley Tournament Championship because I didn't know we'd still get in. I thought we had to win that to get in. And I put on Sweet 16 again. So I think right then, instead of like sulking, and they went the other way, and they responded to it again, and we ran off whatever after that, 4 in a row or 5 in a row, and then obviously the games up in Chicago were special. The Texas Tech kind of soundly beating them, and then the coming back and from the big deficit and beating Georgia.
In your heart of hearts, when you came to the arena the night of Bradley here in Carbondale, did you think, I'm going to walk out of this arena with the conference championship?
No thoughts. Not even entered my mind. And that's why it was so, such a I think, a special moment and yet unexpected, and yet we couldn't really celebrate because we weren't ready to celebrate. But maybe in the long run, it helped us. Not only helped us get in the tournament, obviously, because that was something we had on our resume, but maybe we didn't celebrate too early. You know, and now we still had, you know, we won it, but it really was handed to us, and then we had to go out and earn it. And so yeah, it was that when I first heard that score, I still thought Creighton would. They always seem to win close games, and I thought there's no way, you know, they're going to let this thing slip out of their hands. And then, you know, you kept hearing scores and scores, and when that last one, I just sat down and I said, man, we can't let this thing slip out of our hands.
Now, after the Valley Championship where you lost to Creighton, would that be the longest week in your coaching career, in your head coaching career, figuring that you did everything you had to do, but still there was a decision to be made if you were going to be in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, right after the game, Doug Elgin grabbed me, and he's on the committee, he's our commissioner, and I was pretty down, and he goes, you know, Bruce, I really think you guys are in. And I said, Doug, if we don't get in, it's totally unfair. This is wrong. You know, we've done everything you've told us. Our non-conference game, we played more games away from home than any other school in the country. We've beaten big-name teams. You know, we've done everything. We won the conference, got to the championship. You know, it just happens. Creighton has a great second half, and Creighton's a good team. And then the next couple days were long, but then it started coming out. You know, the .coms, and the one guy, whatever his name is, has like a 98%. And he not only did he have us in, he had us at a 10. So we're thinking, you know, it started, and then we became the darlings of the country, the mid-majors, us and Butler, and, you know, USA covers us, USA Today, and I'm on every radio show, and I think everyone was pulling for us, so I kind of felt like we were in. But then that, about 5 to 5 on Selection Sunday, right before, and everything flashed through, my stomach started turning, and I'm thinking, man, you know, you feel good, but what if this doesn't happen? You know, we got all the media there, you know, if this doesn't go, what the heck do I say? And I was just glad, you know, about 15 minutes into the show, up flashed us, and then really glad that it was Texas Tech. And the day before, I was with my wife and my daughter. We were coming back from Chicago. I was recruiting, and something came up about Texas Tech, and I thought to myself, and you have whims sometimes. I said, man, I can see us playing them. And I didn't think about Chicago or whatever, but I thought, man, we could end up playing those guys. And then when that flashed up, there was, you know, deja vu or whatever you want to call it, but it was a very pleasant surprise.
And not only did you get in the tournament, you stayed for a couple of songs as well. You take on, of course, Bobby Knight, then Jim Herrick, and then Jim Calhoun. 3 outstanding coaches, yeah. But you beat 2 of them. That has to be pretty special too.
Well, it was, but we beat the team, and we had a good team. And you know, coaches get so much credit when they win, and then so much, you know, when they lose, they take all, you know, everyone says, oh, they're horrible and this and all that. It's like Roy Williams not winning it. I mean, he's a tremendous coach. You know, it's just. Coach Katie's another example. Hasn't got to the Final Four, but all that he's done, you know, over the time. And it's a lot of, you know, before the tournament, that week before, we were trying to make plans. We didn't even know we're in, but then Paul Kowalczyk just asked me, do you think you can win? And I said, it all comes down to matchups. And we had good matchups. You know, it really was. And even Creighton, I told Dana Altman, I felt he had a good matchup because their style was similar to Florida. If we play Florida, I don't think that's a good matchup. Us against Texas Tech was, I think them against Florida was, and then the Georgia game, we just caught a team that probably, they were a 3 seed, but they were a struggling 3 seed at that time, if you could say that. They had struggled near the end of the season, and everything kind of worked out for us, but our kids played tremendous, and they bought in again, they listened, we gave them a game plan, and they just took it and ran with it, and it all worked out.
Prior to the season, the biggest question would have been Roland Roberts because no one saw him play in a game in this region, of course, seeing him at Virginia Tech. Do you think that you could have done and had all the success without Roland Roberts this year?
Well, I think here's the big thing. Before the season, we're picked 4th by the media at the Valley meetings. You know, we're picked 4th, and we just kind of went back and laughed because, you know, we knew what Roland was about. We knew what Darren Brooks was about, Stetson Harrison, Brad Korn sitting there. I mean, we had pretty good feelings. But as far as doing what we did without Roland, I would say we were going to be a good team. Were we going to be able to beat Indiana and people like that? Probably not. And he made that difference to give us the maturity, the leadership, and also that inside force, the shot blocking, you know, doing some of the things that he did and intimidating inside that probably gave us a chance to beat Indiana, compete with Illinois, beat a couple of these other people maybe that we normally wouldn't. And now the question is, next year, what are you going to do without them? But I think these other guys have matured and been through it, and hopefully that they'll, Jermaine will he had that taste of the success, and he'll get to that, maybe get to where Roland was this year as a dominating force.
And those are two players that will be back next year, and with that, Kent Williams and Jermaine Dearman, those are your leaders going into next year. Coach, can it happen again? Can you get to the NCAA tournament? Not necessarily get to the Sweet 16, but can you get there again?
Well, I would hope that's our goal. We haven't sat down. We've given them 2 weeks here off, and we really haven't talked a lot about it, but they had a taste of it, and I hope that's the motivating factor. I think we're going to, obviously it's Kent and Jermaine last year. They're going to be two of the best players in the league. Now, the freshmen had great years. Are they driven or are they satisfied? Are they going to, push themselves? Are they going to get better? Brad Korn, is he going to make a step? Sylvester Willis. You have 6 of your 8, 9 back that are, they're pretty good players. And then Josh Warren, a couple guys we redshirted, and then we need a couple guys, maybe 1 or 2 the incoming guys to be a factor. And I think, we'll be up there. Creighton obviously has everyone back. Bradley has a bunch of young kids. Illinois State, if they get Bryson back, they're going to be a factor. So it's not going to be easy, but if our kids are motivated and have a good taste of that, of what, they want it back. You have a taste of that. If you go taste a good steak, you want it again. And, so they had the taste of the steak and the lobster. I'm hoping they want it again, but it's going to take hard work and commitment again and continuing improvement. And big factor, we stayed away from injuries. We only had Sylvester miss 1 or 2 games there and was slowed up a little bit, but no one really, we didn't have any major injuries. And, you're always thanking the good Lord for that.
So is this a defining moment?
I think we've speeded up our expectation clock. There's no doubt from the beginning 4 years ago. Each one we went a little faster than people thought. When people told me the first year we could only win 5, I've never been through anything like that, so I didn't even accept that. We won 15. We got it to 28, the most wins in school history, did a lot of things that no one else has ever done. So now we've raised the level. And now, though, people are saying, again, Sweet 16, somebody yelled national championship at the pep rally. I mean, I think we can have an established program. My next goal would be to keep it where Creighton is, where Gonzaga is. They've done it over 4 years. Gonzaga over 4 or 5 years, Creighton over the last 4. Get to the tournament every year, or NIT, NCAA, and that's not easy to do at this level. Where we go, though, and people have to realize this, are we going to make a step forward with everything? The facilities, this arena needs to be spruced up. It's a great place. I'm not asking for a new one. It just needs to be fixed up. It needs to be spruced up, and that's if we want to continue moving forward and stay at that level. And because it comes down to recruiting. We got great exposure. Recruits are excited when we call them, but it still comes down when they come on campus. We got a new locker room. We made a major step. That's a big thing. But you still walk in here. Is it something they want to be part of? And it doesn't come overnight. I think we've speeded it up, and I'm hoping we'll move forward. I hope we move forward with a lot of things in the program, and I hope the people want to do it, because if they want to enjoy this every year, you got to move your program forward in a lot of ways.
Coach, on behalf of Saluki fans everywhere, and especially all of us that have covered you all year, thank you so much for a magical ride.
I appreciate them, and you guys, and everyone's been great, and the fans have been tremendous, and we can't ask for more than that. I know 13-0 at home, it was because of our players and a little bit of defense, but I tell you what, the fans had a part in that, and all our success all year. Thank you.
The Sweet 16 loss takes nothing away from a dream season where Southern accomplished every goal. The 2001-2002 season was nothing short of magic. So there it is, a sweet Saluki season. In 2001-2002, the Dogs returned to the limelight. In doing so, they honored past legends by playing with that same brand of passion and intensity. Was this the greatest Saluki season ever? Possibly. Can it happen again next year? Maybe. Will this Saluki team live forever in the hearts and minds of SIU fans everywhere? Definitely. I'm Russ Eisenstein. We leave you tonight with a look back at the greatest moments of a sweet Saluki season. Good night from Carbondale.